Hey, I'm Jesse Ray Ernster, and today I'm going to be showing you the Mixland Vac Attack plugin available through Plugin Alliance. I have a session pulled up of a record that I mixed pretty recently within the last couple of years. This is a song called Blind by a good friend of mine, brilliant artist and producer Phil Simmons. This is off of his Novice album, which is an incredible body of work. This is one of the singles that came out before the album came, and it's a really special record. I wanted to use this one because upon opening up this session and beginning to demonstrate what the Vac Attack could do, I realized this thing sounds great already. This is a great sounding record, and it's a wonderful way to demonstrate just how Vac Attack is a powerful tool to either really subtly transform the signal or really push things over the edge and begin to transform things in a really kind of intense way. Let's dig in. It's going to be fun. I'm just going to hit play. Okay, so I have Vac Attack on the mix bus, and I have it on a whole bunch of other tracks. This is the only plugin that's in the session right now. And at this point, I just want to loop a 2-bar segment of the verse, and we're going to show you what this song sounds like with the Vac Attack plugin engaged on a bunch of these tracks, and then with them all bypassed. And to clarify, when they're all bypassed, that is the state of the mixed stems of the released version of the song. So even with all the Vac Attack off of it, that was the approved mix, and that was awesome, and we loved it. Now we're just doing an experiment. We're seeing if we can use Vac Attack to take a finished song over the edge to the next level. All right, let's hit play there. So you can probably pick up on the fact that everything's a little beefier. There's a little bit more girth. There's a sort of a harmonic richness that has been injected into the song now. I'm perceiving just this overall openness and bigness and just a mass. It's really nice, really pleasant. Right now I want to dig in on the drums. I have an instance of Vac Attack on the drum bus, and I just want to start dialing just to see what type of sounds we can pull out of this kit. Pretty cool. Next, I want to take a look at the bass guitar. As I'm building a mix, I love to start with the drums, and then I bring in the bass guitar and get the relationship between the kick and the bass working, get the low end moving a little bit. So I am going to solo the bass just for a moment, and I'm going to bypass Vac Attack so we can see what's going on and we can kind of diagnose what's happening with the sound and see if there's any ways we can improve it. So we have kind of this cool rolled off. To me, it sounds like that sort of a tone knob rolled off. The highs are rolled off, so we have a little bit of a darker sound, but we have this great staccato bars like boom, 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 which is great. I think that this compressor really excels at latching onto transient material and just emphasizing it in sort of a transient designer kind of way. It adds a tact, it adds sort of and it adds just urgency to sounds that are plucky and staccato-y like that. So I think we're going to be able to dial some of this in, add some punch, and also find a way to add a little bit of texture to the top end. Sounds great. I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing. All right, so we're adding a little bit of attack to the boom, boom, boom. And it's also just evening out the low end. It's keeping everything in one place. It's acting sort of like a fader ride, just keeping the low end of this bass guitar exactly, or bass synth, exactly where it should be. So as I said before, the tone of this bass is pretty rolled off in the top end. But the use of the high frequency push being used along with our THD knob is going to allow us to push saturation in the top end to create content that isn't even there within the source material. Check it out. So as you can see, I'm pushing the high filter up. You shouldn't be able to hear anything because boosting the top end of the bass as it currently lies is not going to be working because there's nothing there. So now we're going to crank up this THD knob. This is going to activate some saturation, some harmonics, and we're going to be pushing the high filter into that saturation to create some density and some texture and just some overall hair, some teeth to latch onto in order to create information in the top end. All right, it's pretty intense. It's definitely punishing the signal. So now I'm going to back the mix knob down and we'll get things blended and sounding a little more appropriate. At this stage in the game, I think it would be really fun and just fantastic to take all the faders down. Now that we kind of have our groove of our bass and our drums built, we're going to leave those right there, and we're going to begin to bring in some of the other elements of the mix, and we're going to really balance this thing and make it feel like a record. Okay, let's talk about this guitar. So we have kind of a bouncy guitar. It feels like it's played pretty gently with a pick, a little bit of groove, but a lot of the time picked guitars are just very transient. And after that initial transient happens within a mix, they kind of get drowned out by a lot of the other sounds. So one of the things we might want to do is dig in with a little compression, a little bit of clipping from the THD knob, and just overall just blow out this sound with harmonics so that the rest of the sound that follows that transient can be a little bit more audible within the full mix of the song. So as usual, we're just going to start by bringing up that reduction knob. As we bring up the reduction knob, it's going to bring the volume of the sound is going to get compressed and go downward. But the auto makeup gain of this plugin is nice. It's smart. It just follows along, keeps everything at a similar volume so that it's easy to dial things in. And then we'll bring up a little bit of top end. We'll push some of that transient, and then we'll turn up the THD knob to get some explosion happening out of the kind of the reverb bloom of the recording. Let's listen to that in the mix. And I believe I'm doing a similar thing over here with these guitars. I really love the sound of blown out tube gear and just the way that running a signal through vacuum tubes just allows the mid-range to balloon. Oh, that's nice, a little thicker like that. Here's a good example of how I would process something on like a sample. This is a sample that sounds like there's some orchestral elements going on and some strings. And it's, we're not really compressing much here, but we are driving the THD knob. And you can hear how things just kind of come to life a little bit when we bypass. On the vocals, it looks like I'm just doing a little bit of high push just to bring things out and give it a little bit of life. For the low and high filter push, there are two different EQ modes, J and E. And no, these aren't based on, British consoles of the past, the J or the E. No, this is, J is for Jesse, E is for Eddie. We're the Mixland guys, and we each just picked our favorite frequencies that we like to use in plugins. And we're placing a little bit of a bet, and we want to see how many people How many people like using the J settings better? Or how many people like using the E settings better? Let's try this thing on organ. Yeah, with keys like organs, I love to drive it and get that old B3 through a Leslie sound where it really just starts to break up a little bit. I think overall the drums seem like they're very loud in the verses and just about right in the hooks. So I think a gain stage to the mix to work in the hook, but now going back to the verses, I think we need to make an automation move now where we bring the drums down just a little bit. Now we'll see how that transitions into the hook. Doesn't work, actually. I'm gonna go with a static drum level. I'm just gonna try to find one that's gonna work. That is mixing. Having a hypothesis and a set trajectory and then getting there and realizing, well, that didn't work. Let's try something else. It's something really powerful that happens when you have a mix going and you're building balances and you're building the relationship between the different instruments, and all of it is passing through some sort of piece of equipment or a plugin that is introducing harmonic distortion and second order overtones, second order harmonics. Things begin to meld together and instruments wrap around each other and work together better, and you get reinforced transient and a deeper mojo and just an overall collective unified sound. It's working together, it's speaking like a record. And then if you hit bypass it, it just all falls apart. Like, I've built all of this and then you realize that was playing such an important role. And so that's why you'll see here that on the master bus, on the mix bus, Vac Attack isn't doing any gain reduction. I'm not using it as a compressor per se, but I am driving the low filter push into that THD knob, into that harmonic circuit to activate just some gel, some mojo. And let's hear what it sounds like engaged and then bypassed. I want to do one thing to take this record, not even to the next level. I want to take this record into the past. I want to roll off the top end a little bit to give it just sort of a classic feel in the top end. And my favorite way to do that would be to go to the E setting of the high filter EQ mode for the high filter push, and then back it off a bit. This is going to shape everything kind of above 12K. So you're going to take all the shimmery, shiny, modern stuff and kind of subdue that a little bit. And we're still pushing the low filter, so we're gonna still have that modern low end, but we're gonna give it that classic top end. And a lot of the time I get clients that are giving notes that are saying like, it's a little too bright, or maybe I need, more of that classic sound. I want more of the old tape sound. And it's not always like a low pass filter to do that. It's not always like a tape or a vinyl plugin. Sometimes I just use the HF push on here to just subdue some of that super shiny top end. And now that we are kind of focusing the mid-range and sort of bandpassing this mix in a way, by pushing our THD knob up, we're feeding it more of a bandpass signal, which means it's going to be exciting the mid-range a lot more. So let's listen to how the mid-range kind of balloons out once we push this up. We have a harmonically engaged mid-range, more of a subdued present top end, and a nice big blooming low end. So let's bypass the plugin and see what happens when we take the Vac Attack off of the mix bus. So for the low and high frequency push knobs, right to the left of that, we have an EQ mode selection area. You have J mode, which will be Jesse's frequency points, or E mode, Eddie's frequency selection points. Not as cool, but pretty good. So you could switch between 50 Hertz and 230 Hertz on the low end, and then on the top end, you could switch between 4.4K and 10K. So you have a lot of different options of filtering to really shape sounds. Lastly, but not leastly, there is an incredible, a real spring reverb on the drums that I haven't blended in yet, and I'm about to. Let's see where we can put that. Really cool spring reverb. The only thing for me is that it's kind of decaying too quickly, and it dies out and gets drowned out in the mix a little too fast. So I think it would be very cool to, again, give it some harmonic love, clip the peak of that signal, and allow more of the decay to shine through. And let's just excite it. Let's get some tube warmth going on. I'm gonna blend that in one more time, a little slower. All right, the processing is sounding really cool, so let's go back to our fader now and let's compensate and rebalance it within the mix. Also, it might be kind of wild to push the panning of this reverb off to the side. We have a lot living up the center, and it might give us a little more dimension and depth to pan this mono reverb out and just add a little more width and contrast from the left speaker to the right. All right, again now, we've done quite a bit of mixing, moving things around, panning. Let's check the whole mix with the Vac Attack engaged versus bypassed. You know, a little bit of a volume difference there, and if I were really doing a close A/B comparison in this context, I would dig in and make sure all my output trims were there and everything was matched so I could bypass and really check that I'm adding value to the sound and not just making it different. Is it better or is it just different? Big bad sound. This is the Mixland Vac Attack, available now through Plugin Alliance. Go check it out. I hope you love it. Hope you have a great time mixing with it, and it brings you some great sounds, gets you closer to the finish line, and get some client approvals and get some records out there, releasing some music. All right, I'm Jesse Ray Ernster. You can find Mixland online, Instagram. You can find me, Jesse Ray Mix, on Instagram. Find me on my website. Shoot me a DM, email, reach out. Say what's up. I would love to hear from you. All right, everybody. Happy mixing. Peace.